Hi everybody, it's Adam from LUCIDPIXUL, and I want you to picture something. I want you to imagine spending months, weeks, years training your skills artistically, taking courses, buying books, DVDs, mentorships, you name it. Doing everything you can, everything in your power to get better, to improve, to become that professional you've always dreamt of being able to produce artwork that is a reflection of that great stuff that you grew up adoring. And you practice and you practice and you practice and you practice. And you get letdowns and you get trolled on forums and you get rejected from studios and all that bit. And then one day, one magical day, you produce a piece of artwork that makes you go, wow, that's actually pretty good. I did that. Huh. And you sit there for a whole hour and you just overanalyze the crap of your painting and go, wow, this is really good. When you get up, you make yourself a coffee or a tea or a hot chocolate or whatever it is that you want, and you come back and you have another look at it, and it's still good. You're like, I'm actually good. I'm actually a good artist. I'm actually decent. This is actually pretty good. And you spend another hour looking at it, and you're sitting there. You for the first time in years of practice, you're actually getting this confirmation, this confirmation of all that hard work, this amazing feeling that you've actually overcome so many obstacles and you've come such a long way and you're actually producing decent stuff. And you go online and you open up Google and you make a fatal mistake. You Google the words concept art. Oh, big mistake. What hits you? You get smacked in the face. No, you get a shovel in the face of the best art in the world. Concept art and illustration and design for video games and trading card games and books and all this kind of stuff. And you're sitting there going, oh my God, this is incredibly good work. I mean, these artists are insanely good. They are, and you look back at your own painting and you just close it. You just close Photoshop. You're like, screw this. I thought it was good 15 minutes ago. Now I'm looking at it again and it looks like absolute garbage. I'm an amateur. I suck. I'm never going to succeed. That whole feeling of pride that you had just got obliterated and stepped on and squeezed and twisted and ripped in half. It got the Dark Souls troll backflop. Ba-boom! Gone. Okay? You died. So, then you turn on this video and you turn on one of Adam's art talks and Adam says to you, I've got the cure to your worries. You're feeling discouraged about your artwork? Well, here's the cure. There's only one problem. There's only one problem with the video that Adam is sharing with you. Or at least there's only one problem with that particular message that Adam's sharing with you. It's wrong. It's false. The reality is there are artists out there that can paint circles around you. That's the truth. So the only thing that Adam would be doing for you, the only thing that any artist would be doing for you if they told you, don't worry about it, they're not better than you, you're just being too hard on yourself. The only thing that I would be accomplishing if I told you that would be that I'm mothering you. I'm telling you, it's okay, Brenda. You're going to be fine. Stop worrying about it. You're 10 times better than her. Okay? That's bull. It's not true. They're better than you. Deal with it. But, okay, Adam, you're not really helping me right now. You're kind of being a little bit of a jerk. Yes, I'm being a bit of a jerk. But it's the truth. So, Adam, Mr. High and Mighty, Mr. I've overcome that obstacle and you're one of the best out there? Hell no. I spend every day, I go on Google and I look at artwork and I go, oh my God, they're so good. Okay? Yes, I experience that every single day. And every one of those artists that you admire and adore, those people that are making you feel small about yourself, there's somebody out there making them feel small about them too. There's always a bigger fish out in the world. Okay? But what I'm here to share with you is not a lie. What I'm here to share with you is a change of perspective on your artwork, on who you are, and the role that you play in this world of art. And furthermore, a perspective that can cure your pain. It's not going to cure the truth that they're better artists. There's no cure for that. That is a terminal disease, okay? There's no cure for it. But a change of perspective that can take the pain away. And can, in fact, if you're smart about it, will help you get better. Will help you expose you to skills and abilities that you wouldn't be able to achieve unless you changed your perspective. So to give an example, because I always like to paint pictures of things, right? I am an artist after all. Imagine this. Imagine you have the hots for somebody. Imagine girlfriend or boyfriend or your favorite goat, depending on where you're from. Somebody who you really, really love and admire. And you're completely smitten. And yes, smitten is a very good indication of my age. Well, actually, no, that's not true because smitten is a word that came out long before me. But you're really smitten. You're head over heels for this person. And one day you're walking down the street and you bump into them flirting with somebody from another country who has some very sexy foreign accent, like from Japan or from Austria or from Cuba, or, and you're Canadian or you're American, right? You're just plain old white, nothing special about you, and you're listening. There's some, your girlfriend or your boyfriend is sitting there flirting with some Cuban or some, or some New Zealander with that sexy New Zealand accent. You're like, oh wow. What happens to you? Well, in many, many cases, what happens is you immediately get flooded with extreme jealousy. You feel horrible. It's not only that they're flirting with somebody, but they're flirting with somebody that possesses a quality or possesses a trait that you never will. You're never going to be Japanese. Or, of course, if you're listening from Japan right now, then, picture somebody from France. You're never going to be that other person. And that's just the reality of it. So many people allow that very fatalistic reality eat them alive and fuel their jealousy and hatred or whatever the case might be. And focus on the fact that person possesses a quality that they will never have. That's the big thing. It's they have something I will never have that really tears you up inside. But the reality is, just the same reality I shared with you 2 minutes ago, the reality is you're never going to be Cuban. You're never going to be Japanese. You're never going to be Austrian. You're never going to be from New Zealand. It's never going to happen. So what do you do about that? Well, realize something very important. And that is the fact that sexy Cuban guy is never going to be a Canadian. That sexy Cuban guy is never going to be Japanese. He's always going to be just Cuban. And that Austrian person is always going to be just Austrian. Okay? That's the reality of their life. Remember, everybody's perspective is they always think they're the center of the universe. You think you're the center of the universe. So if you're listening right now and you're from France, realize that to other people around the world, you're considered something exotic. You are exotic. Just because you were born where you are. Doesn't that sound so stupid? Just because you were born in Canada, people think you're exotic if they're from Prague, right? They go, oh, you're a Canadian. That's so cool. You think that's silly. I know Canadians are giggling right now. Like, yeah, okay, Adam. I had the privilege of hanging out with some friends of mine from Mexico, and they took me. There's a bar in Montreal called Mementos. I might have mentioned it in earlier talks. A Mexican bar. And they took me there. And I was the only, even though we were in Montreal, I was the only born Montrealer, Canadian, in that bar. Everybody was Mexican. And when I was talking to my friend, he mentioned something that made me go, huh. He told me that in Mexico, there's actually I can't remember who. Remind me in the comments if you're from Mexico and you know who I'm talking about. But there's apparently this well-known historical figure, a Quebec figure, who is loved, who's loved in Mexico. And in fact, girls will apparently flock around you in Mexico if you speak French. Apparently that's a very popular language in Mexico. They love people who speak French. It's as alluring to Mexicans to speak French as it is to French Quebecers to hear Mexican. It's an exotic language. And it's it was a real kind of, that's kind of interesting. Because I never considered who I was as being anything exotic. I'm just freaking white. That's all I am. Very boring white. That's probably why I love doing voice impressions and stuff. It allows me a chance to pretend to be somebody I'm not, right? And if you put that in the context of art, if you put that in the context of your own reality of your world, the reason that you look at other people's artwork, one of the major reasons why it's probably making you feel depressed and discouraged is because you know you're never going to be that. But you're only focusing on them. You're not focusing on yourself. And if you were actually to reverse the boat, realize that they, who you admire so much, will never, ever be able to be you. You're the Canadian artist, they're the Mexican artist. Or they're the Japanese artist, or they're the Austrian, or the, or the French artist. They will never be Canadian. And I'm sorry, hello, but have you seen our Prime Minister? Damn! Right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's the truth. Trudeau forever. You know what I'm saying? But that's my point. You have to embrace who you truly are. Plain ass old Canadian white boy who grew up in NDG. That's who you are. And as soon as you embrace that and realize that who you are is actually special to every other country on earth, then you realize how much potential you have. And the only thing you have to focus on at that point is not being like that other artist, because you're never going to be that other artist. It's learning how to be the best you could ever be. Learning how to exploit your very being. And that sounds like such a stupidly simple thing to do, doesn't it? But it's the truth. You're embracing who you are. Something that always really resonated with me was in the making of The Incredibles. If you have the extended edition DVD for The Incredibles, and Incredibles 2 is coming out, yes, I can't wait. Sorry, I want it out now. But Brad Bird, my absolute favorite director, or one of my favorite directors, Brad Bird is talking. He was talking about Edna Mode, about the character Edna Mode, right? And he was talking about what inspired him to create her. And she's actually based on Bette Midler. Now, of course, if you're an animation fan, you know this. Like, of course you know this. Duh, this is common knowledge to animators. But she was based on Bette Midler. And he said the thing about Bette Midler, when he met her, he had the chance of meeting her in person. The thing that immediately hit him about Bette Midler when he met her is that even though she was this small little, short, kind of roundish silhouetted type of loudmouth Jewish woman, when she walked into the room, she owned that room. Her energy, her presence was so strong that it just knocked everybody on their ass. She's a very powerful woman. Her energy is extremely powerful. Now, was Bette Midler's energy powerful because she's a 6-foot supermodel wearing high heels and long black hair down to her ass? No. She knows and doesn't even try to be a 6-foot supermodel. She is the most absolutely superb, short, round Jewish woman with a loud mouth you could possibly be. She completely and utterly embraced her true self. Who she was probably teased as a kid, who she would probably hated being when she was young, was the quality that everybody loved her for when she embraced it. And the same thing applies to you. You might be sitting in your studio, you might be sitting in your cheap little apartment now with your crappy computer thinking to yourself, I am just some absolutely insignificant, boring little, nobody from some tiny little city in the tiny little neighborhood in the outskirts of Bangladesh, thinking to yourself, who in the world is ever going to give a crap about me? And realize that to everybody else in the world but yourself, you're something special. And stop seeing yourself through the lens of what you're not. See yourself through the lens of what everybody else sees you as. And only at that point, the only obstacle you have at that point is just training your skills technically. But when you train your skills technically, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, learning about composition, value, color, visual storytelling, perspective, all that song and dance. Training your skills to help develop you and your voice as good as possible. And whenever you'll know when you're not expressing yourself through your own voice, when you find yourself gravitating towards the artwork of other people and thinking to yourself, oh, wow, I'm never going to be that good. When you when you catch yourself saying that, it's because you're forgetting who you are. And if you derail yourself for too long and focus too much on other people and forget about who you are, you will immediately start wasting time doting over other people, and your productivity is going to start to pay the price for it. Your ability to grow is going to stop paying the price for it. So here's a change of perspective. Instead of getting back to the whole relationship or jealousy part of the conversation, instead of looking at that person and thinking to yourself, I'm never going to be as sexy and exotic as that dancer guy from Argentina. Love that guy from Argentina. Get to know him on a personal level. Embrace who he is and focus not on overcoming him. Focus on making him a better person. Focus on doing everything in your power to help that person's life improve. And you're going to realize just how much he needed it. You're going to realize that you were so self-concerned and you were comparing yourself so much to that other person that all you saw was their qualities, and it prevented you from being able to be the friend to that person that they truly need. So you're not only stripping yourself of wonderful quality of life, you're stripping them of wonderful. You're stripping them of you, somebody who they need, somebody who they could really use in their life. And this is something that's reaffirmed as a teacher all the time, because my students come from every single country in the world. And I have the rare pleasure of being able to get to know on a personal level, in our own homes, all of these wonderful people from Japan, from New Zealand, from Brazil, from Austria, from every corner of the planet, from London, right? And when you cease to see people as being something you're not, and you instead look at people as people that need compassion, people that need love, people that need you to really give the best that you have to offer to them, you realize how exotic you are. You realize how wonderful it is for them to be exotic. And you start to find your true voice, because your true voice cannot exist in selfishness. Your true voice can only exist in compassion and love. I know it sounds very hocus pocusy, but it's true. Think about it. I've been salsa dancing since as long as I can remember, almost as long as I've been working professionally as an artist, okay? I never would have ever even considered learning how to dance salsa if I was jealous of Cubans. Never would have happened, because it would have been a world that I felt incompetent, I felt inferior to. Instead, I embraced it, and I made it a part of my life. I'm still white. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm still white. But I'm still white. I'm still from Canada. I still have a Canadian accent. But I dance salsa. So it's Adam plus salsa equals more Adam. And that wouldn't be a part of who I was unless I embraced it. Unless I saw Cuban culture and understood Cuban culture and Cuban music as human beings. I saw it as something real. I didn't see it as something exotic and foreign. I saw it as real people and embraced it for what it was. And it wasn't until then that I truly understood the dance and understood the music and started to find a love for it. And when I started to see Cubans as human beings that need me as much as I need them, I developed a relationship and learned things I never would have learned in the first place. So instead of looking at that other artist and thinking, they're so exotic, they're so special, I'm not going to be them, instead ask yourself, how can I help that person grow? And that's how you're going to find your own growth and how you're going to find your own voice. And that's really the reality of it. It's not about you against the world. It's about you with the world. And the more great artists, I said this in my last talk, the more great artists exists out there in the world, the better off you are, because that means there's more people out there that you can share your experiences with and grow with. Not against, with. All right? So hopefully you enjoyed this week's talk. Of course, I have talks out very regularly, so always keep an eye out for new talks coming out. As well, don't forget I have an online mentorship and I have spots available right now, so make sure to get in touch with me. All the info is in the description below. And also, if you're interested in joining the Brush Sauce Theater Art Contest with myself and Tyler Edlin, then you are always welcome to join. I'm going to leave the description to the community, the Brush Sauce Theater community, in the description as well. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.